Time now for our political roundtable. Today we have Democratic strategist Fred Hicks, the founder and president of the Hicks Evaluation Group, which has worked with hundreds of political campaigns for nearly 20 years. Republican strategist Joshua Edmonds, vice president of the Stonebridge Group. He was the executive director for the Georgia Life Alliance from 2018 to 2022, where he authored the first draft of Georgia's heartbeat bill. And in her debut appearance on the Georgia Vote, Riley Bunch from the AJC. She covers local government, including Atlanta City Hall. Before that, she was a policy reporter for GPV, and now she's a panelist on TGV. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here. I want to start off, we have elections coming up. That is the big talk this week. Fred, I want to bring you in here with my interview with Mayor Khalid Kamau. Elected in 2021, he won in a runoff, just over 59% of the vote against incumbent Bill Edwards. Do you see this race going to another runoff? And keep in mind, Bill Edwards, he's one of those competitors.
Absolutely. So I do think this will go into a runoff. The 21 election was a generational election, right? So Bill Edwards being one of the older mayors in Fulton County, Khalid representing a new generation in Wade. But I think that South Fulton voters have something to think about now. So it'll definitely be a runoff. I don't know who will be in it, but I think there'll definitely be a runoff.
And Riley, you cover municipal races all across Metro Atlanta, all across Georgia. What are voters telling you are the issues that are top of mind for them when they're getting ready to cast this ballot?
Well, obviously, housing, cost of living is top of mind for voters when they cast their ballots at the poll, and public safety still, even though Metro Atlanta has seen success in its public safety numbers, reducing crime rates. That's still something that people want to feel safe walking down the streets every day. So, and also infrastructure, too, I would say is top of mind for voters, and transit. We have a lot of huge topics, a lot of engaged voters, and they're thinking about a lot this year.
Joshua, let's bring you in on here. Looking at just all of the races on Tuesday, does anything stand out to you specifically? What are you watching for?
Yeah, I mean, you look at these PSC races, I mean, all eyes are on the municipal races because that's driving primarily our turnout here in Georgia for Tuesday. So these races shouldn't have been on the ballot this year. They should have been on the ballot in 22 and 24 respectively. And here we are with the PSC at the top of the ticket for the first time ever. And it's a very interesting scenario. All eyes are on Atlanta and South Fulton to see how that impacts these races.
You talk about these races, you say shouldn't have been on the ballot this year. They were hung up in legal proceedings that delayed these elections. Obviously, we're here now. Talk about turnout. Fred, why are these municipal races such important drivers of what happens at the top of the ticket?
Well, I think to what Josh was alluding there, the municipal elections tend to be dominated by Democrats because in cities like South Fulton or Atlanta, or even a lot of our North Fulton cities that have trended blue lately, those are the voters that are coming out to vote. But voters in rural Georgia may or may not have an election, and they're a much smaller portion of the electorate. So because people come out to vote in their local elections, they will also have the chance to vote on these two seats, in which really could, and some people say should, result in a victory for Democrats, maybe two, on Tuesday.
And Riley, in your reporting, are you getting the sense that there is an excitement to get out there and vote?
You know, I would say that it's up for a question in Atlanta because we have a mayoral race that isn't highly competitive. We have city council races, a president race, but I think it's a lot to do with getting out to vote at the end of this election. There's a lot of eyeballs on the federal government right now and what's going on in Washington, D.C. So voters and candidates are going to have to kind of push their bases to the polls this time around.
Let's stay on this topic here. Joshua, I want to ask you, how does the national political environment shape the conversation in these municipal and kind of lower ballot races?
I mean, you're talking about elections where there's probably in many cases not a ton of name ID for who these candidates are. People don't largely engage in these local races unless it's highly contested. So you're looking at these candidates through the lens of Republican and Democrat, and you're seeing this larger national debate about the government shutdown and compromise and negotiation, and people are frustrated about what's happening right now. So I think if you filter through the lens of the fact that Democrats won't negotiate and reopen the government, they're going to be more likely to turn out and say, I'm going to go vote Republican regardless what the race is.
We've got about 10 seconds. Fred, I want to give you a chance to respond on that shutdown comment.
If you're okay with giving children health care after the government reopens, why not give it to them before so the government can reopen? Don't let children starve and don't let children go without health care. Simple.
I think that was about 10 seconds, and you can see the shape of the divide just between these two seats here. Well, we are back now with the panel, and we have talked about the election on Tuesday, so let's look ahead to 2026 now, which is not all that far off. The AJC has a new poll of 1,000 likely Republican primary voters asking them who they prefer in the race to challenge Democratic U.S. Senator Jon Ossoff. Here are the results. Representative Mike Collins, 30%. Representative Buddy Carter, 20%. Derek Dooley, former college football coach, he's at 12%. And here's a figure I know all of these campaigns are going to be paying a lot of attention to. 38% of people said they did not know. Margin of error, we should always point that out as well. It's about 3%. Riley, you're at the AJC. This is your paper's poll. What do you make of this when you see this?
You know, I think that it's important to remember we have a lot of time. There's a lot of time left. There's a lot of undecided voters, right? And these are voters that range from the spectrum. They could be Republican voters, they could be Democratic voters, and the Republicans are going to need a candidate that can make inroads with both of those voters. You know, John Ossoff is popular with moderates. They need a candidate that can win over the Trump-supporting voters and some more of those moderate voters.
And I mean, time is of the essence, right? When these numbers come out, the text messages go, and I thought that one from the Dooley camp was interesting. They're represented. Both Buddy and Mike have over double the name ID Derek has. Early frontrunners in the fall of the off year don't tend to win in our state. Do you all agree with that?
I think these polls are going to be looked at heavily by political donors. They're going to be looked at by the Trump administration. Who's viable? Who's growing? Who's not? Derek Dooley, even in third place in this poll, continues to grow. Mike Collins continues to establish a lead. Not a lot of growth from Buddy Carter. That's the big question mark in this poll is, can Buddy Carter turn around to donors in the White House and say, I'm a contender in this race?
Fred, I know you're a Democratic strategist, but we're going to ask you to weigh in on this race too. What, if anything, do these candidates need to do to emerge? Is there a clear frontrunner yet at this point? Is the field even set at this point?
Well, I think the field is pretty close to being set, particularly given the amount of money that's being spent already in this race. But what they need to do to separate is really a great question. I think to, again, piggyback on something that Josh was just saying there, that these polls are important because we have to remember that Donald Trump has not weighed in on this race yet. So he's weighed in on the governor's race, but he's not weighed in on this race. And so if one candidate seems to get closer to the edge of winning, then I think that person might have a better chance of getting that support, which would push him over. But in terms of, and that's one big thing that I think they're all vying for right now is Trump support.
Fred, we always hate to cut you off. I think that's a good time to do it, though. We will always continue this conversation. The panel right now is wrapping up the Georgia vote. We'll be right back after this.